Time now for today's Focus Report. In Bangladesh, a country of 160 million inhabitants, 90% of whom are Muslim, violence by radical Islamists has been on the rise for the past few years. In 2013, a group of fundamentalists published a list of 84 intellectuals and free thinkers who they wanted, and I quote, to be reduced to silence. Since the beginning of the year, 3 of the men have been killed. All were bloggers who dared to express their atheist views and criticise the influence of Islam in Bangladeshi society. Our reporters travelled to the capital city to meet with such bloggers who are living in constant fear of being murdered.
Ananya, aged 25, hardly ever steps out of his home these days. In recent months, he has received several death threats. Threats for denouncing religious extremism on social networks, a position that is difficult to defend in Bangladesh.
This is the latest threat I received, and this is what it says. If you want to save your head, come back to God. This is the last warning. And when I read this post, I panicked. I freaked out. But I decided not to tell my family about all this.
Such methods of intimidation are being used by radical Islamists, and Ananya doesn't take them lightly, for he is no stranger to violence. In 2003, his father, Humayun Azad, now a deceased famous writer, was attacked with a machete in a street. Since the beginning of this year alone, 3 bloggers have been murdered in Bangladesh.
After the killings, I was afraid, so I stopped writing for a while. But I figured I should continue to write, because maybe I will be the next victim. And if I do not talk now, act now, then nobody else will either, and fundamentalists will eventually dominate the country.
লেখক অভিজিৎ রায় হত্যাকাণ্ডের 2.5 মাসের মাথায় এবার সিলেটে খুন হলেন অনন্ত বিজয় দাস, আরেক ব্লগার।
Ananta Bijoy Das, Washiku Rehman, Avijit Roy, 3 atheist bloggers killed in less than 4 months. Avijit Roy had returned to Bangladesh after a 3-year exile when he was brutally murdered on this sidewalk, right in the heart of the capital city of Dhaka. The culprits remain unidentified and are still at large. But Avijit's father has no doubt about their identity.
These groups are basically fundamentalist, and they think a non-believer or atheist is an enemy to Allah or Prophet. And according to their training, they have no right to exist in the world. So if chance comes, physically eliminate them.
90% of the country's population is Muslim, but everyone is governed by a secular constitution. Still, fundamentalist Islamic groups continue to thrive. The recently established Al-Qaeda branch claims responsibility for the assassination of Avijit Roy. While the Al-Qaeda is illegal, there exist organizations that preach fundamentalist thought institutionally, like the Hifazat-e-Islam, which has 25,000 madrasas across the country. Its leaders demand death penalty for anyone criticizing Islam.
We would like to make an Islamic committee that will suggest new laws to the government. This committee will follow the Sharia law, which clearly states that those who insult Islam or any other religion should be given the highest form of punishment.
Faced with weakening political authority, the Islamist movement seeks to assert itself through all means, including violence, according to the analysis of Farzana Rupa, an investigative journalist.
The Islamist fundamentalists are now more aggressive. Freedom of speech is increasing, so the opponent, they are feeling threat. That might be the free things of the society that will be more powerful, and they feel that they are getting more question from the society.
The death of these bloggers has shocked and scared many, but only a few have come together to demand justice.
Now the threat is such huge and they became so powerful. Technically, they are very rich and they are so much organized that people even don't courage enough to gather together against them and protest them.
While the murders of Bangladesh's bloggers remain unresolved, the secular government in power has insisted that it will fight relentlessly to counter the fundamentalist Islamic threat.